Hello, everybody. Okay, I am jumping on this live stream. I haven't done this in so freaking long. I am really excited about this, and I'm honestly, let me just see if I can mute myself here. There we go. We're talking about hair loss. This was a topic that literally got so... People who watched my latest video, if you haven't seen my video, it's called Why is my hair falling out so much? And you guys can check out that video. I talked a little bit about that. And I think this is a topic that so many people want to hear about. So I figured that I would do a more in-depth discussion, just talking about this and helping you guys understand what you can do for your hair loss. The reality is not all different forms of hair loss has the same root cause. And in my opinion, when I am talking about these kinds of things, one of the things that I always try to mention to women when they ask me, what supplement can I take for this? What supplement can I take for my hair loss? I'm like, well, it depends on what's causing it. And for myself personally, if you guys don't know who I am, I'm Melissa Ramos. I'm a nutritionist. My background is also in Chinese medicine. And I have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition. And this is one of the areas that I'm going to be discussing here because thyroid dysfunction is an extremely commonly overlooked issue because so many women go to their medical doctors and they're told their thyroids are normal. Why is this happening? Well, we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to discuss about other reasons why your hair also could be falling out. And we're going to go through all those things. There's so much to discuss here. I'm going to try to be as concise as humanly possible. But I can tell you that the thyroid is a big one. So it's where I'm actually going to start off. And I'm going to give you guys resources that I have put together where you can get testing, etc., 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 because we're just going to cover a lot. So first and foremost, why do so many women go undiagnosed with their thyroid condition? And why are they walking around thinking their thyroids are healthy and normal? Well, because several reasons. Number one, doctors are not doing full and complete labs for thyroid health. So when you go to your doctor and you're like, hey, can you test my thyroid? I heard that this might be an issue. Your doctor might say, okay, sure, we'll do it. And what they're testing is a marker called TSH. It stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. And thyroid stimulating hormone is not the only marker that will help to evaluate your thyroid. In fact, if that was all that I had tested, my autoimmune thyroid condition called Hashimoto's, which affects 97% of the women who have thyroid dysfunction, hypothyroidism, it would have gone undiagnosed. So number one, they're not doing full and complete labs. Number two, even if they did do some more labs, what they are looking at is they're looking at these very broad lab ranges, okay? And these broad lab ranges are actually based off of a sick population, okay? So they're really broad. And by the time that you are outside of those lab ranges, your issue has gone chronic. And this is the reason why that if you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, go check me out over there. Go stalk me. Sexy Food Therapy, all one word. I am so militant. It's about telling women, like, please, this is a form of self-parenting. You need to make sure that you're getting full and complete labs every 6 months. And most women are not. And when you get those labs, you also should be getting a copy of your lab work. Now, you might be like, well, how do I know what to get tested? I have no idea. And what happens if I ask my doctor and they give me pushback? Well, for starters, this is the exact reason why I ended up putting a thyroid guide together, because I'm like, women need to know what labs to get, especially for their thyroid. And it's in my thyroid 411 guide. So number one, I just put that link there for you guys. The second thing is if your doctor says, I'm not doing that, it's not needed, don't worry about it, what is your second option? Well, the other option for that is, this is the reason why that I ended up developing a membership, and it's called Sexy Lady Balls. It's a very low price membership. And the reason why that I ended up developing this membership is because we actually have resources for women in that membership, whether they are Canadian, American, in the UK, or even in Australia. Okay. And so that's definitely one thing. And the reason why that I ended up trying to find out all these resources, which I've collected over the years, is because I got so angry and so frustrated because so many women are leaving their doctors and going, am I crazy? He's telling me I'm normal, but I don't feel normal. And you shouldn't have to live that way. So in the membership, which is, I will tell you, there's memberships out there for hormones that are like $2,000, $3,000. Our membership is a very low price. It's $57 a month. And we do this because that's where you can get a lot of the resources, whether it's in Canada or the States or what have you. We can provide you with resources on where you can actually pay to get your labs done. Okay. And I'm a full advocate of that because I always get labs every 6 months because you can't know what is broken or what to fix if, and I want to not say that you're broken, but you don't know where to go or what's improved or what needs to be improved if you don't have quantitative results. Okay. Really important to understand, to assess where am I at right now. Rachel Feldman, thank you for being here. So Simply Me, Laura D says, my hair was falling out a lot. When I got pregnant, it stopped. 4 months postpartum, now it's falling out a lot more. How can I tell if it's normal postpartum hair loss or another thyroid issue? So I love that you asked this question because a lot of women postpartum will start to lose hair. And the reason why oftentimes is because, think about it, you moms are freaking superheroes, okay? You got a baby, especially a new mom, you got a baby who's crying, you're up every couple of hours nursing, or just, seeing that your baby is fine because they get up a lot, and the adrenals take a hit and the thyroid takes a major, major hit. So getting full and complete labs, especially for your thyroid, is extremely important. So even in our membership, that is something that we also evaluate as well. But that's why I always point people to that thyroid guide, because we have the full listing. But here's the other thing, and that I actually mention in this guide, I'll give you guys a bit of a teaser, is when we're looking at thyroid health, we're not just looking at your thyroid labs, and I included the entire labs to get in the thyroid guide that I posted in the comments, but we're not just looking at that. We're also looking at something called ferritin. Now, if you don't know what ferritin is the blood marker that helps us to understand how much iron are you actually storing. So if you get your blood done, it's not just your iron that we're testing. They also must need to test your ferritin levels, because you might have your iron levels look okay, but how much of that are you storing, right? Really important. And so I see women consistently, especially working with them in the membership, so many women who have low, bottomed out ferritin levels in a really big way. And we need iron storage for our hair. Okay. And this is actually extremely common with women, especially if they're menstruating, but especially with women with hypothyroidism, because we need iron, okay, to help us to convert into our active thyroid hormone. So let me just talk a little bit about that. We have T4, which is your inactive thyroid hormone. And then we have something called T3, which is your active thyroid hormone. But in hypothyroidism, often what we see is we'll see maybe sufficient amounts of T4, and sometimes T4 gets tested, but then we see really low T3. So why is that? Well, if we don't have enough ferritin, stored iron, we can't make that conversion, so T3 will be low. But there's other things that inhibit that conversion, including stress, which we're going to talk about as well, because stress absolutely can lead to hair loss. But with hypothyroidism, what we often see is thinning hair. So if you guys haven't noticed, I chopped off a whole whack of hair. And the reason why I chopped off so much hair is because I was actually thinning. My hair was thinning like crazy. And it was thinning like crazy when I lived in the city in Toronto. And I had suspected that I had mold. And mold is a really big one. And I'm going to give you guys a very great resource to kind of give you some idea if you have some mold toxicity present. And it's like the preliminary test. It's super cheap to do, which is great. That I usually send all my patients to go just check to see if all is good. Now, the reason why that I bring this up is because mold was something that I had suspected that I had in my apartment. How do you know if you have mold? Well, mold can also lead to hair loss, okay? Because mold toxicity, it's not the mold that is going to be harmful for you. It's the toxins produced from the mold. And these are called mycotoxins, okay? So to evaluate if you actually end up having mold toxicity is looking at your home, your environment, and to see, do you have bubbled walls? I did in my apartment. Is there maybe a musty smell in your apartment? If you have AC units, check them, because water tends to sit and reside in them. Water also tends to reside and sit in dishwashers, the front loader of washing machines. Even if you take really hot showers, ladies, please stop taking very hot showers, because what those hot showers do is they activate some of the chemicals in our water. And usually I suggest women is to get a Berkey shower filter. You can get also, another company is Pure Effects. And these shower filters can be extremely helpful, but never ever shower scalding hot water, okay? Because you activate those chemicals. And you should look at the roof of your shower, because sometimes you'll see some mold growing, right? Even shower curtains can have them. Towels can have them. Look for these signs, because mold toxicity, I can do literally an entire call on mold toxicity. But when I'm seeing women who are not getting better, especially women who have hormonal issues, it's never the hormones that I'm worried about. It's what's actually affecting them. And this is oftentimes what I don't always start with hormone testing in our membership, even though we do offer it. It's not always my first go-to. And the reason for that is I want to know, well, what's causing them to be out of whack? Is it mold? Is it gut pathogens? Heavy metal toxicities, etc. These are all things that, I wonder about, because it absolutely can be affecting your hormones. So mold, believe it or not, 20%, and I would imagine it's much, much higher, but 20% of women who have hypothyroidism, they found that their thyroids were infiltrated with black mold. Okay. Now, in the United States alone, 85% of buildings have had past water damage. 85%. And if you're like, who cares? Well, mold grows in as little as 24 to 48 hours. 45% of buildings in the United States have current water damage. Now, think about your children, for example, and I'm just going to touch upon this real quick. Think about the schools that oftentimes these kids are in. Now, I know there's COVID, so a lot of these kids are, homeschooled right now, or distant learning. But a lot of kids, like, even look at your kids, are they actually thriving more now that they're not in school? Because a lot of these buildings for these schools are old. And so they also very much could have some level of water damage. But mold is a big one, especially for hair. So one of the resources I tell my patients to, if they suspect that they may have mold, is to go on a website, and it's called survivingmold.com. Okay, and I'm just going to write it down here, survivingmold.com. And there's an actual visual acuity test, I think it's called. It's VCS screening test. And I believe it's like it's under $20. Okay, so it's actually very inexpensive. And I send women to do that first, especially if they think that they might have a mold issue. And if they actually come out positive, that's when we have further mold testing. So we understand, well, which mold potentially could be harming you. Then we understand which protocols to use. Okay, but I generally don't get them to do our mold testing first, which is, all of our testing, which in Sexy Lady Balls are upgrades. They're all packages that include with, seeing a practitioner, one of our practitioners, getting a protocol, etc. You're paying for the package. But I'm like, why would I get you to spend that money if mold is not your issue? Let's just rule it out with survivingmold.com to see first. A cheap and cheerful test is always very helpful. But mold can absolutely be a very big one, because it can impact your thyroid's function. Understand this. We all lose hair. Okay? We all lose hair. There's no question about it. So you losing hair is not an abnormal thing. And our hair goes through cycles of shedding. I was always under the impression before that if I just left more time in between washing my hair, that my hair would be healthier because of all the oils and etc. I would dry out my hair, and then I would maybe wash my hair like once, twice, like maybe once a week. And then when I did, so much hair fell out. Well, what's happening is that more of your hair is going to fall out when you wait longer because the hair is sitting loosely in the follicles. So now I wash my hair probably every other day, and I find that that can actually be very helpful. Now, if you remember, I had just spoken about ferritin levels and iron being a really big thing. We have to look at the foods we're eating. Most women are not getting enough protein during their meals. I see women, what they're eating in Sexy Lady Balls. We do have a meal plan and foods, etc., recipes. But oftentimes women need some adjustments. So sometimes I'm like, track what you're eating, post it in the group, and then I can take a look at it and help you shift about what you need to shift in your diet. Usually low protein is a big one for women. We need protein because our hair requires protein. If you don't have enough protein, you're really missing a big part of this. So the average woman should be getting at least 30 milligrams of protein 3 times a day. Now, if you're like me and you fast in the morning, you're not eating breakfast. So I always make sure that my lunch and my dinner has adequate amount of protein in them. You can also add protein to your diet, whether, you do a smoothie or you add some collagen into your world. That can be extremely helpful. But protein's a big one. And the reason why I mention that when it comes to iron is because what form of protein are you getting? If you are a vegetarian, that might actually not be the right diet for you. When we look at protein, especially animal protein, you're going to see that there's more iron-rich forms of protein that's more bioavailable. Anytime we're talking about nutrients, we have to think about the bioavailability of these nutrients. So look at your diet, and if you're like, I don't know if I'm getting 30 grams of protein, I'm not a huge fan of tracking every single meal that I eat, but I think it's incredibly helpful when women do it initially to get an assessment of where they're currently at. Otherwise, you have no idea. So there's certain apps like MyFitnessPal, there's one called Lose It, which I know is a horrible name, but these can give you some idea of what are my macros like? How much fat am I taking in every single day? How much protein am I taking in? A lot of women tend to be a little bit more carb heavy than they are actually with protein. And as we get older, ladies, we need to make sure that we have adequate amount of protein for the health of our muscles, for the health of our hormones. We need enough protein, even for detoxification. Low protein equals really poor detoxification efforts on our body. So that's a very important thing that I have to be able to mention. But women will say, oh my God, I lose so much hair. I'm like, it is natural for you to lose hair. The other thing is, it's also important to understand that our hair goes in cycles. So for you to grow the hair back, you can grow it back, but it's going to take time. And I know that that's probably one of the most frustrating things to hear, but it's going to take time. So that's one of the things that I also want to be able to mention. Now, when we think about stress, for example, when I was leaving Toronto, I was desperate to leave my apartment because I knew that I had some level of mold that was happening in my apartment that was also impacting my thyroid. I mention this on Instagram a lot. One of the things that I do is I track, this is a ring. It's called Oura ring, O-U-R-A. This is not an ad. I'm not sponsored by them, but I love this ring because it helps to measure something called my heart rate variability, HRV. And when I was in Toronto, my HRV was so low, and this measurement helps to measure how well your nervous system recovers overnight. And my HRV was bottomed out low, so I knew that my body was under some level of stress. So stress is not always just mental, it could be your environment as well. And that certainly can cause hair loss. Stress is a big one. So my hair was falling out. I left Toronto, and ever since I did, my heart rate variability, which should be around your age, I'm going to be, I'm 42 now. My HRV should be around my age. It shouldn't be 25, which is what it was when I was living in the city. So I knew there was some level of stress. And my hair was shedding and shedding and shedding to the point that I would get anxiety when I was taking a shower because it was just coming out like this in clumps. Melissa says, seems like the longer the hair, the more it appears it's coming out. That's absolutely untrue. It has more to do either with deficiencies, so it could be nutrient deficiencies. I can tell you right now that some things that you may want to consider is getting even a good B complex. The one that I love, absolutely, and I'll just put our shop page links here. If you are in Canada, there's a different shop link for you guys. Here, I just want to make sure that I give you guys as many resources. And here's the one for the US, shop-US. But the B complex we have on the site there is called B Supreme, and I absolutely love it. My favorite protein powder, especially for someone who is intolerant to everything, because I have an autoimmune condition. They have an amazing, and I'm actually just going to grab it right now. This is the beauty of being in such a small space. Everything is so close to me. Pure Paleo protein. This protein powder, guys, is amazing. It tastes really good. I have the vanilla one. I've tried the chocolate one as well. Super yummy. But I love this because this is hydrolyzed beef protein. Okay, so hydrolyzed beef collagen, I should say. And it is amazing. And I usually have this, and I'll put that into a smoothie. So I'm just going to put this down here. Pure Paleo protein is also on those shop links as well. And I love it. So those are some of the resources that can be really helpful. Essential fatty acids also is amazing. We have one on the shop called Omega Avail that I really, really, really dig. Taking a damn good probiotic is absolutely crucial, because one of the other things that I want to share with you is if your gut is in complete distress based on gut pathogens, whether it's parasites, bacteria, etc., that absolutely can lead to poor hormonal health. It's one of the main pillars of hormonal health that I talk about very often. It's the reason why they call me the poop whisperer, is because you have to make sure that your gut is in good standing, because you can take all the supplements you want for your hormones, but if you have some level of gut dysbiosis, so more bad stuff going on at that gut party than good, your hormones are always going to suffer. And it's this reason why that we evaluate these things in the membership as well. So those are some big, big, big things that I want to mention. Now, I want to also share that I know that there is a large majority of women who follow my work who have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Actually, I did a survey, or poll, I should say, here on my YouTube channel, and almost half of the people who follow me here are looking for PCOS advice. Now, women who are struggling with PCOS, and there are different forms of polycystic ovarian syndrome, side note, so why you have PCOS could be radically different than another woman. I've seen women who have PCOS who are overweight, and some who are not overweight at all. Some women who have PCOS don't even have cysts. But the women who are struggling with insulin resistance, where they're struggling to take off the weight, where there's some high androgens as well, those high male hormones, can absolutely struggle with hair loss, okay? Oh, Trish asks a great question. Does SIBO affect hair loss? Abso-freaking-lutely. So why does this happen? And I'm just going to mention this because, guys, I can talk about poo until the cows come home. But the reason why, remember before, if you're late, refresher, you have an inactive thyroid hormone. It's called T4. I wish I could do like supers up here, but T4, okay? And remember I told you if you don't have enough iron, you can't convert T4 to that usable, active T3 thyroid hormone, right? Well, there's other things that can prevent that conversion from happening. So iron is one of them. Stress, high amounts of stress, will impede the conversion of T4 to T3. Remember, stress can be mental stress. Stress can be mold, environment. But stress can also be gut stress, okay? So much of your hormonal health is based on how well your hormones are doing, period. Or how well your gut is doing, period. So if you have SIBO, for those of you guys who don't know, that small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, I can say to you right now, I always want to go, have you had blood work done? Most women I speak to go, yeah, but it was like a year ago. Did you get copies of your labs? No. Get copies of your labs. Always, always, always. And start to create yourself your own little health portfolio, because you need it to be an advocate of your own health. Okay? So if there is gut dysbiosis, that conversion likely will not happen. Okay? So yes, can SIBO affect hair loss? Yes, because it can affect your thyroid's function. And a lot of women with thyroid issues, and so many women, so many women have issues with thyroid dysfunction and don't even know it. They don't even know it. So that's the one thing that I just want to be able to share with you. And I think it's so frustrating for so many women because they're walking around with these issues, not even getting it, that they have the problem to begin with because they're always told things are normal. All right. The other thing that I want to mention, especially for the women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, is that in these cases, sometimes it happens on the crown of their head, where they start to lose hair on the crown of their head. Sometimes it's like receding, but oftentimes it's the crown. With stress, it can be thinning, but it can also be very patchy in like various areas. With thyroid issues, I often see it's kind of just thinning. Okay. But with androgen excess, so remember, androgens are those like male hormones. You know, there's a potent, very, very potent form of male hormones, and it's called 5-ADHT. They probably should call this like Bob or something easy. But it's made by an enzyme called 5-A reductase. Okay, so for your reference, anytime you see A's like lipase, protease, anything with an A's at the end of it, you know it's an enzyme. Okay. So when it binds to receptors in your hair strands tend to move into resting phase, or they'll just fall out completely. Okay. So why does this happen? Various things can happen. It can be high insulin. So we know that it talks a little bit about that with polycystic ovarian syndrome, but you might not even have PCOS, but you have high insulin. So if you don't know this, insulin is your fat storage hormone. And in cases of insulin resistance, what we see are women who have insulin resistance, and that means that the body doesn't know when to stop pumping out insulin. Okay? What we want is the body to be more insulin responsive. Okay? So it's like, okay, we're done, right? But that high insulin can actually lead to hair loss, right? So we see this in women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, obesity, women who have high triglycerides, which is a part of your lipid panel, the fat panel that your doctor will do, measures like cholesterol, LDL, HDL, etc. Some genetic stuff is at play, but remember, you are not at mercy to your genes. You absolutely can change the course of your life based on how you're showing up. I always say this, so how are you living every single day? And now that we're ending, this year, and we're going into another year, and if you're watching this replay maybe years down the line, it doesn't matter. This is always an opportunity for you to evaluate, how have I shown up in my life up until this point? And now what can I do to change things? Am I doing things right now? What am I doing right now that's going to help further my health so that I can feel better? Okay, that's important. So things that you can do. If you have been told recently, within the last 6 months, that you have high androgens, whether it's testosterone, whether it's DHEA, if you have been told that you have high male hormones, and you know that for a fact, because I'm saying this only because women go, yeah, I've been told that like 2 years ago. No, you need to get updated blood work. You can't base something from a lab work you had a year or two ago. Okay? So if you have recent lab work that told you that high androgens, you can take things like saw palmetto, can be really helpful. There's a component in green tea called ECGC. Sounds like a band. But I actually, on my YouTube channel, did a video about how I make my matcha latte every morning. Matcha is a powdered green tea. It is very potent, and it'll have higher levels of that. So if you're somebody who has high androgens, you may want to consider drinking matcha on a daily. Other things that can be really helpful, really honestly for anybody, is stinging nettle. So nettle, also known as stinging nettle, is absolutely amazing. It is a whole body tonic. And I always tell women that when they use nettle, this is also very helpful, by the way, if you have low iron. When you are steeping it, you can use one of those French presses when you're steeping it. And I would put like 3 tablespoons of nettle tea, which sounds like a lot. So you have like a medium-sized French press. Fill it up with hot water, and then put like a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, because that acid will actually help to draw out the constituents of the herb, so they're more bioavailable. All right? You're going to let that steep for like 15 minutes. Let it steep nice and long. And when you pour it for yourself, it's a lovely, mild tea. I would suggest sweetening it with unsulfured blackstrap molasses. Unsulfured blackstrap molasses can be purchased at your health food store. And it's also very iron rich as well. But nettle is amazing for the liver. It's also extremely good for histamine issues. So if you are somebody who finds that you get hives easily, if you have a lot of sinus congestion, sometimes histamine issues can also be behind hair loss as well. And nettle can be really amazing for histamine issues. So it could be something that you could consider using as well. The other thing that I find really helpful is red and near infrared light. Now, if you guys have not seen my video about how to wake up earlier, my 5 a.m. morning routine, I actually share the device that I use, which is a near infrared. I'm going to see if I can grab it here. And it is my Juve light. Let's see if I can pull it out here. Can I do it? Yes, I can. All right. Here we go. So this is my light. And I actually use this for my thyroid because there is research to suggest that it can help lower thyroid antibodies, the near infrared light in particular. And it is a wonderful device for many reasons. You can check out that video. But for the health of your hair, it can actually help with hair loss, which is really, really great. So I'm just going to post that. So red and near infrared light is here. Genevieve, hey girl, I have PCOS and crown hair loss, but doctors say I'm not insulin resistant. So this is actually true. So for those of you guys, and I'm going to put another resource because I just want to give you guys resources so you have some tools to help you out. I actually have a guide, Genevieve, if you have not downloaded it, this would actually be extremely helpful for you. There is a PCOS healing guide that I developed, and it actually breaks down the different forms of polycystic ovarian syndrome. Because even if you're not insulin resistant, you still could actually have androgen excess. So you could have high levels of testosterone or DHEA. Usually when I see women who have high DHEA, sometimes it's because their adrenals are producing high amounts of this male hormone. And the remedy for that comes down to we have to reduce the stress. And it's not just, again, mental stress. What else stress is there? Is it food stress because your blood sugar isn't regulated? Is it potential mold issues? We have to identify what's actually causing that. So that's definitely something. But if you're having crown hair loss, the saw palmetto can be extremely helpful. But please make sure that you are evaluating that from recent blood work. Okay? Remember that. High testosterone due to high BHRT pellet. Been questioning why doc isn't concerned. Feel I need to transition off after this video. So here's the one thing I will share with you guys. This video is certainly not intended to tell any of you to get off your medications. This video is intended to help you question and be that annoying kid who asks why. And if your doctor isn't giving you the answers that you require, then it's about time that you work with someone who does. This is the exact reason why that we work in the membership, to help women address and to find the answers that they deserve. So those are really big ones as well. The other thing that I want to share with you guys that I think is extremely, that we haven't actually touched upon, some women oftentimes will get hair loss because there are fungal issues happening on the scalp. Okay. That's where you may want to look at getting that if there is a fungal growth happening on the scalp. I actually worked with a woman. She was very young. She was only 24 years old. She had a lot going on, including autoimmunity, which we are going to touch upon as well. I told you this would be jam-packed, right, guys? But in her case, you knew it was fungal related because there were actual scabs. It was so bad, this poor woman could literally eat 5 different foods. That was it. That's how compromised her immune system was. And she ended up shaving her head because her pillow, when she would wake up, would stick to her scalp. This was one of my patients. And, you know, for her, topically, neem, N-E-E-M, so N as in Nancy, E-E-M as in Melissa, that is an Ayurvedic plant. It does not smell very good. But that actually can be really helpful topically to use. Even a little bit of an apple cider vinegar wash, like rinse with water, can help also with fungus. But you have to address, well, why is the fungus there? And usually it's because of the gut. So for her, we had to evaluate the gut, and there were many gut pathogens at play. Meanwhile, she had gone to every single celebrity, you know, naturopath, doctor, etc., who were giving her just like immune herbs. And I thought, but what's causing the immune system to go out of whack? And in her case, and in many women's cases, it's the gut. It's the gut. It's the gut and estrogen dominant issues, PCOS, endometriosis, perimenopausal women. You know, if you are after the age of 35, our progesterone levels begin to decline naturally. But if you are a woman who is crazy pants stressed out, you're not valuing sleep, you're eating like shit, you are just not taking care of yourself, and you're taking care of everybody else except for yourself, and you're living in that codependent state, your progesterone will wane much faster. And the reason why is because cortisol, which is the hormone released in response to stress, will munch away at progesterone so much faster, leading to hair loss. And we need progesterone also for our thyroids. Progesterone is the hormone that makes us feel good and nourished, right? So if we don't have adequate amounts of progesterone, our thyroid's going to suffer, our estrogen levels go up off the charts. We start to feel super weepy, maybe even a little snappy, you know, and these are the things that we have to be able to address. So it's important to look at that. And so, you know, when we're addressing it, women go, well, what supplement can I take? What advice can you give to me? Well, we have to look at it from an overall perspective. So manage your blood sugar, get enough protein, and definitely get enough fats, guys. Okay? Make sure you're taking a good B complex, you know, because there are nutrient deficiencies. Some women will, or I should say some practitioners will suggest taking zinc as a supplement. I generally don't. Why don't I? Well, the reason why that I generally don't suggest zinc is because of the fact that I like to try to get it from the diet first. And I try to get it from the diet first by actually incorporating more animal products. So more beef, more chicken, more animal meats, because it will be higher in zinc. Vegetarians tend to have pretty low amounts of zinc, and in turn will end up having high levels of copper. Because if we have too much zinc, we actually... Sorry, guys. Hey, nope. Hey, stop. I apologize, guys. This is what happens when you live in a... Hey, place, buddy. Place. No. Anybody want 2 dogs? So the thing is here, we have to make sure that we are getting in enough zinc-rich foods to balance copper. When we don't, copper will be in excess, and that will be wreaking havoc with our bodies. I apologize for the interruption there, guys. Just dogs barking. Nina 2 says, or actually, can you please recommend all the tests that can be done to diagnose hair loss? So we actually went through that earlier. You may have actually missed that, but there is a guide that I posted earlier. It's my Thyroid 411 guide, and one of the biggest ways to make sure to understand why is my hair falling out is I always say, number 1, you have to look at your thyroid. Number 1. So if you haven't downloaded that guide, do so now. Just scroll up and you will actually see it. It's like my first comment here on this live stream. That will give you a full listing. And what I also mentioned is if you get pushback from your doctor, that's when I would suggest joining us in Sexy Lady Balls, because we have resources to help you to get answers. Okay. How can you tell it's fungal hair loss? My scalp hurts sometimes, but no visual changes. Oftentimes you'll see scabs. That can definitely be a really big one that we will oftentimes see as well. Okay, so what tests would best assess your gut health, also to know if you're absorbing all the nutrients? So we actually have a test in Sexy Lady Balls, which is a gut test that we do. You cannot get this from your medical doctor. I know that that's going to be a very big question women will have for me. Well, I'm going to ask my medical doctor. They're not going to run this gut test. I can guarantee you that. So we do offer gut testing as an upgrade in the membership. And our gut testing and everything else has a package. You don't just pay for the test. It's the protocols wrapped in, the time with your practitioner is rolled in there. And so that's a really, really big one. But especially if you want to find out what can I do right now for my gut, number one, get off the gluten. If you are on gluten and you're like, yeah, but I have it every once in a while. If you consume gluten, your small intestine can start to actually develop little holes, and leaky gut can actually occur within 5 minutes. 5 minutes within ingesting gluten, and it takes months, if not years, to repair. So if that is not added incentive to get off the gluten, I don't know what is. So that's definitely one thing I would suggest. The other thing that I would suggest, I think I mentioned probiotics for the gut. Not all probiotics are created equally. The probiotic that I suggest for the gut is a product called Megaspore Biotic. And the one that I like is from Microbiome Labs. Every single woman that I work with, spoiler alert, is on some level of leaky gut healing formula. And the one that I really like is called Mega Mucosa. And I freaking love this product. It's also from the same company, Microbiome Labs. You have to register with them first before purchasing, just a side note. And I absolutely love both of those products so much. And I take them daily for myself. Because autoimmunity can actually... What happens is that your immune system begins to attack the hair follicles, and you can end up getting hair loss because of it. So addressing the autoimmunity is very crucial. Getting off inflammatory foods like gluten, dairy, making sure that you're having a probiotic, obviously stress support. So many women always ask me, what supplement can I take for my health? Ladies, it's not just the supplements, it's also your stress. You know, those are also extremely important things to be able to assess. That is crucial. Are these supplements good for fertility as well? Remember, if you are struggling with infertility, infertility is a symptom. You have to understand, well, what's causing that? So are these supplements helpful for that? Absolutely. Anything that supports your hormonal health will support your fertility as well. Okay. Do essential oils help with thyroid issues? They do. Or sorry, with hair issues? They do. I'm going to share with you some of the ones that I love. And for somebody asking, but how do you take those supplements I just recommended? So the Megaspore Biotic is a probiotic. You just take one with or without food. It doesn't matter. With the Mega Mucosa, I actually have some in my water bottle right now. I love the taste of it. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it because it's very sweet. And I have a sweet tooth. So if you have a sweet tooth, you're going to love Mega Mucosa. But you can just put 1 scoop in water daily. And I would do that without, you can do it with or without food. It doesn't matter. Could low estrogen be related to hair loss? It depends. It could, but we have to look at the overall hormonal profile because that's not the only thing that we would actually evaluate. We'd have to look at, well, what's causing the low estrogen? Because in some cases, women who have really low estrogen way early on when they shouldn't be having low estrogen, sometimes it's due to stress. You know, stress munches away on your sex hormones. And when they say stress is the ultimate killer, there's a reason for that. So that's the reason why supplements alone is really not going to help. If you are not doing the lifestyle stuff, this is one thing I'm on women big time in Sexy Lady Balls. Sometimes they'll, post late at night and I see it the next day when I log in what time they posted, and I'm like, you're never going to fix your hormonal issues if you're up on Facebook at all hours of the night, glued to your phone. By the way, these devices also impact your hormones substantially. So if you're glued to the devices, ask yourself, how am I showing up to my life? Because oftentimes that is even more important to your hormonal wellness than the supplements you take. How to reverse skin pigmentation. Is this hormone related or liver related? So we're not talking about skin pigmentation because that's not the focus for this live stream. We're talking about hair loss, and we have to stay on topic just for, to respect everybody else's time as well who's here. So those are some very, very big ones that I wanted to be able to address. But remember that, if you have all of a sudden started losing hair, have you just recently started taking medications in the last 3 to 4 months? Heartburn medications also can lead to hair loss as well. So really questioning medications that could be there that you took 3 to 4 months ago, and all of a sudden now you're getting hair loss. Ask yourself those questions because it's extremely important. My hands look inflamed with small patches of dry skin. What do you think? Once again, this is a live stream about hair loss. We're not talking about patchy skin at this point. So we could consider that in future live streams, but we have to respect other people's time who are watching. So the other thing that I want to mention, especially for those ladies who might have thyroid issues, or maybe you went to your doctor and they did some blood work, and all of a sudden the doctor says to you, hey, you have high prolactin levels. A lot of women come to me and say, I have high prolactin levels, and I'm really nervous because my doctor says that they want to be able to do a test to see if I have a pituitary tumor. And you might be like, whoa, that seems really, like dramatic. So here's what I want to share with you. The chances of you having a pituitary tumor that could be causing the high prolactin levels, which sometimes can also lead to hair loss, is actually very low, okay? Oftentimes, high prolactin levels could be due to maybe your breastfeeding, okay? High prolactin levels can happen then. High prolactin levels can also happen due to thyroid underfunctioning, an underfunctioning thyroid. So here's a great question. Jackie says, I assumed my hair loss has been perimenopausal. So this is a really great topic that you bring up, Jackie, because in perimenopause, what's happening? Well, now your ovaries are starting to cease to function, right? Okay, your periods are all over the place. You have, maybe you get your period for 3 weeks, then you don't get it for a month and, 2 months, and then you get it for a week, and it's all over the place. Hormonal surges is perimenopause. But since our ovaries start to cease to function, they're losing their function in perimenopause, what we're seeing is very low progesterone levels. This is when you become more estrogen dominant, okay? Low progesterone levels can definitely lead to some level of hair loss. But remember, we need progesterone for the sake of our thyroid. When our ovaries start to lose their function, in this whole network of hormonals, this whole hormone network of glands that your body has, when your ovaries start to lose their function, what ends up happening is the adrenals now have way more work to do. So if you walked into perimenopause, a stress case already, you weren't eating very well, you're eating gluten, maybe you're having a little bit of wine, you're codependent, so you're sacrificing yourself to enable everybody else or appease everyone else. You are not getting enough sleep. When you go into perimenopause, you're going to struggle way fucking more. And this is why I always say to women, you have to be able to ask yourself, or to look at this as an opportunity to change the course of your life. Because if you don't, it's perimenopause and menopause is going to be hell for you. Because now when our adrenals have more work, guess what else starts to suffer? Our thyroid. So most women who are perimenopausal, that's when a lot of these women start to exhibit hypothyroid symptoms. But they go to their doctor and their doctor goes, everything's normal. So perimenopause isn't the root cause. Perimenopause brings with it a lot of hormonal issues that need to be evaluated. So if you are someone who is in that perimenopausal time frame, or maybe you're not there yet, usually you'll go into perimenopause, which is a 10-year transition. I know, right? Around the same time that your mother did, or maybe your sister did. Okay, so all the women in my family tended to go into it. They start around my age, around 42, 43 years old, that transition begins to happen. So for me, one of the biggest things that I always try to remind myself is I have to manage my stress levels. I have to make sure that I'm adamant about my sleep. I have to make sure that I'm adamant about my hydration, no gluten, good amounts of protein, 30 grams of protein 3 times a day. So at least 90 milligrams of protein, 90 grams of protein daily, are really, and gut health is important. Otherwise, you're going to see that your thyroid's going to suffer. So if you, once again, did not end up grabbing, and you may have just joined late, and that's totally fine. I put my my free thyroid guide, because it gives you a list of the things that you need to make sure that you get tested. Once again, if you get pushback from your doctor, which you likely will, we're happy to help you in Sexy Lady Balls get resources on where you can get testing done. Can saw palmetto cause more hair loss? Does it increase testosterone? No, it actually helps to combat high testosterone levels. Okay. Jackie says, I certainly suffered way more for the first 2 years. It was a great opportunity to clean things up that no longer serve me on all levels. I love that. So that's huge. This is like, perimenopause is essentially another form of puberty women go through. Okay. It's a big time of upheaval for so many women. This is the time to really change the course of your life. It's like, who am I giving so much of my energy to? And one of the things that I posted on social media, it was not my quote, that I want to share with you guys, because we have to manage, as I said, how are you showing up in life? That might not make any sense to you, but your lifestyle factors will determine if you stay on a plan. It will determine, how well you assimilate nutrients from your food, because if you're stressed, all that stuff doesn't make any difference. The good food, everything else, it's not going to work. So I put, this is not my quote, in 2021, continue to socially distance from people who subtly belittle your ambitions, engage in petty drama, act like a victim in their problems, only talk to you when they want something, lie to themselves, and 6, harm your mental health. Extremely, extremely important. So as we go into whatever, it's perimenopause, a new year, what have you, really question your life choices, because they matter for your hormones. And of course, the sake of your hair, right? Your hair is an extension of your nervous system, if you don't know that. And that might actually be quite surprising to a lot of women, but it really is an extension of your nervous system. I'm going to pull this up just to give you guys an idea of this. But hair is our natural energetic antennas. Okay, to pick up energetic vibrations around us and sense them well ahead of time and transmit large amounts of information, okay, from the limbic system in our brain, okay, and the neocortex. So yogis, spiritual masters, indigenous shamans, and people knew about the function and purpose of our hair, and they never cut it, okay? So then there's hair loss, which I am no stranger to, having Hashimoto's. So while I am fully aware that 2020 has been a gong show for so many people, and it has been energetically relentless for so many of us, we have to be able to see, like, what is stressing out my nervous system? These devices and staying connected all the time is definitely a part of that. How do I know if I'm sensitive or not to gluten? I have endo. It doesn't fucking matter. That's my answer to you, Blossom. It doesn't fucking matter. Some women go, oh yeah, gluten doesn't affect me. If you have endo, estrogen didn't cause your endo. The root cause behind the endo is gut dysfunction and a leaky gut. So you can take all the supplements in the world to fix your estrogen. Like, so many women I see are on all these like hormone supplements, and then they're like, this natural shit didn't work. It wasn't the supplement that didn't fix you. What didn't fix you is that you're not working on the gut. And endo is so gut related. And that is where endo begins, because endo is very much autoimmune related. Estrogen makes endo so much worse. But gluten, whether you guys think or not that you're sensitive or not to gluten, it doesn't affect me. If you're eating gluten, I can tell you that it is wreaking havoc on your hormones, whether you're conscious of it or not. Period. All right, guys, I have those amazing resources. If you haven't checked them out, I have posted them in the comments from my Thyroid 411 guide, which gives you an in-depth understanding of the blood markers that you need to get, number one. If you are getting pushback, join us in Sexy Lady Balls, because it is a very inexpensive membership monthly, where you get full access to me, questions that you may have, and also the option to be able to upgrade to get testing. And our stool testing is probably one of the tests that we run the most, because I see like gut dysfunction is rampant in women with hormonal issues, and they don't even realize it. So if you are struggling, my biggest question to you is, what are you doing to improve it? Because women will complain and complain and complain and complain. I'm not here to commiserate with you. I want to know what you're going to do about it. You know, that's a really big thing, because going back to your GP and your endo, who is not giving you answers, is clearly not helping you. If you have PCOS, I would highly suggest to get the PCOS guide, because it'll help you to understand the different types of PCOS and which supplements and tools to be able to incorporate to at least get you off to the right footing. All right, guys, that is pretty much it. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up right now. If you love this live stream that I did, that, holy crap, is almost an hour long. There is also a bell button at the top right-hand corner of this YouTube screen. And what that does when you click on it is allow you to be notified every single time that I put out a video, every single Wednesday. So please make sure, give me a thumbs up to just show some support for this live stream, where I just provided a crap ton of free tools. Hit that little bell button, subscribe, and share a little bit of love, and even share this broadcast is super appreciated. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope that this was helpful, as my dog is whining to me. And I will stay tuned, because there's so many more videos to come that I'm so excited about. We're actually going to go out this afternoon. And I can't wait to share with you guys what's coming up. Jackie, 100% agreed. We can't just look for a magic pill. Amen to that. You can't Amazon Prime your health, my friends. Just can't do it. Thank you, and thank you for the thumbs up, guys. I super appreciate all the thumbs up you guys are giving me. I really, truly do appreciate that. Okay, guys, have yourselves a happy holidays, and stay tuned. Next week, more videos are coming up. All right, guys, take care. Bye.